Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Texas Wild, the podcast that journeys off the beaten path deep into the heart of adventure. I'm Ryan Prigmore coming to you from the wide open landscapes of beautiful Burleson, Texas. This is my return back to the studio. I've been either sick or working for the last month and a half. I haven't done several shows in a row, but I'm ready to get back in today. We have a special show. Today we have a truly extraordinary guest. Robert Youens, known far and wide as the Ageless Wanderer, at 71 years young, Robert has made history on the water, piloting a 16-foot John boat as he attempted the Great Loop speed record, and he did get one. Think about that for a second. Solo, steady, and unstoppable, charting thousands of miles along rivers, lakes, and canals in pursuit of a dream. His journey embodies what Texas Wild is all about: tenacity, curiosity, and that wild spark that keeps pushing us forward no matter our age. So buckle up because today we're going to hear about Robert's grit, the challenges he faced, those unforgettable moments out on the water, and the way this journey continues to inspire us all. Robert, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Ron, thanks so much.
It's been a while since you've been on the show.
Yeah, it has. I think we were talking about this possibly rolling out last time we visited.
We did. The last time you were on the show, this was only just an idea. You were kind of putting together a game plan, but you hadn't made any concrete decisions yet.
Well, a lot has passed. Just think, it was like 12 or 14 days ago. There was this crazy guy in a John boat on Lake Erie off a long point, camping out, wondering if he was going to be able to stay warm all night. Now I'm sitting out here by my swimming pool sweating. But no, a lot has happened in the last several weeks. I look forward to visiting with you about it.
I specifically want to ask about that 1929 tugboat that found you, but we'll get to that. First, okay. Let's start with talking about what inspired you to do this in the first place.
Well, I've always been competitive by nature. If you say you want to race me to the corner, I'd still probably race you to the corner. I was involved in the Texas Water Safari that raced from Central Texas down to the coast, and did that for about a quarter century and set some records and won some classes. So, yeah, this wasn't something really unexpected by many of my friends that I may take on the challenge. Maybe at 71, it kind of surprised them.
I can imagine so, man. Ageless Wanderer is just about the right name for you, isn't it?
Well, I like to think that no matter what your age, you should be inspired to do the best you can do. If it's just getting out of your wheelchair and walking over to the table, if that's what you can do the best you can do. And it's wandering in my book.
Well, yeah, I mean, wandering has a bunch of different definitions, but you seem to embody what it means better than anyone else I know.
Well, I'm very fortunate as a cancer survivor. I have been through 3 rounds of chemo and radiation and seen my 240-pound body go down to 186 pounds. And as I looked across the cancer ward and saw the people, it makes you kind of rethink your life. And I said, if I ever get out of this, I'm not going to let a precious moment slip by.
What kind of can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I had a type of thyroid cancer. It was like 1 in 8 million. It went from nothing to the size of a ping pong ball from morning to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was growing so fast. My brother, who's a doctor, said, I was in Houston at the time. He said, try to get to Austin. And if you pull in, you can't breathe, pull into a hospital and write them a note to call me and I'll have them intubate you. It was that serious and growing that fast.
That's wild. Can I get you to turn your phone volume down just a little bit?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, there you go. Is that better?
I'll let you know in just a minute.
Okay.
All right. So you're a cancer survivor. You're 71 years old. Man, what are you doing out there running around the country in a John boat?
Why not? People love guys out in a John boat. I guess I needed to be loved, and somehow a lot of people got involved on this and jumped in to share the joy. So I can't explain it. It was just something I enjoyed doing.
Right on, man. That's a lot of gas in that boat.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me about that, and that's going to remain a secret. There's just some things your wife doesn't need to know.
All right. So, where'd you start? You started Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, I had been watching a weather window of July 6th start. There'd been a lot of research done up and down the coast and through the Great Lakes, trying to figure out what would be the best date. And so we had kind of started our weather window at July 6th and been watching every day. And it looked like July 12th was going to happen. And so we count down the days. And then, like on the 9th, it was, hey, Robert, this is looking real. I'm talking to Jack and Quentin, my guys that kind of helped me organize the trip. And on the 11th, I got up in the morning, drove to Pensacola. And on the morning of the 12th, Rob Armstrong, who I met on the internet, met me at the boat dock with his wife. He was going to take care of my car while I was gone. Drove out to Fort Pickens right there in Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
I made my little talk to post on the internet saying, hey, this is really happening. This is where I'm going to start my wake. And I turned out in the Gulf of Mexico, took a heading to Fort Myers, and that was it, man. I was
And that was it.
committed.
How was the Gulf? Tell me about that.
It was, I was going to experience headwinds, but they were going to be light. My boat does not like headwinds, as all y'all guys that own John boats know. They just don't like going into the wind. But it wasn't too bad. It stayed about a foot on maybe 3 second, 4 second intervals. So I could run along about 20 little plus 20 plus a little bit without beating up the boat too bad. And that was the first big trial of the tiller autopilot. And man, it was a champ. It just kept me on a straight course, straight over there. But what I hoped was going to be a 35-mile-an-hour run, 14 hours, ended up being a 20-hour run at 20 miles an hour. But, we got in, we made it. And I think it kind of put a match to the fuse that lit the excitement for the trip.
I imagine so. And is that just because you had the headwind, or you had what, high seas, or?
What's that? Just the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, the time wasn't big seas. It was just like 1 foot seas. It's just that John boats don't go into 1 foot seas very well.
Right.
Following seas, they do really great. But yeah, on head seas, it was a struggle. But made it, got in there late. Man, people told me about the mosquitoes in Florida. Man, them mosquitoes in Florida carry chainsaws. Man, they just were shredding me apart. I did not get much sleep that night.
I understand the mosquito is a state bird of Florida.
I think it. I think it must be. I had my mosquito net over me, and I think they were chainsawing their way through the mosquito net. But
Yeah, those
I,
Florida bugs are legendary.
yeah, I did, but I couldn't worry about it. That was just a bump in the road. A bug's going to stop this journey? No way. So
Right.
as the sun rose, we fired up the boat, got everything packed up, and started heading to the O. Steve Herndon, a previous record holder who lives in Fort Myers, had reached out to me and helped me a lot. He showed me like a redfish cut, like a secret cut that the locals know to get into the bay. And he said, "Yeah, let me route you around all the manatee zones so you can haul ass." And with his guidance, I got on the O real quick. First lock I got to, it was pretty cool. There's this lady there, super nice. She was the lock master there, and she says, "And I don't see a cooler in there, but I do see a lot of gas tanks." I said, "Yeah, man, I just came across from Pensacola." She said, "Well, how many days did that take you?" I said, "Well, I left yesterday." And she was like, "There ain't no way." And
Right.
she said, "Can I get you a popsicle and a Coke?" And I said, "Oh man, that would be so nice. A popsicle would, since I don't carry a cooler." And she brought me a popsicle, and So I was enjoying the popsicle, and she said, "Man, I just called the locks ahead of you and made sure they're going to be ready for you." That was the start of it, man.
That's
Here
a
were
nice.
people
That's
like,
a nice
oh,
gesture.
yeah, falling in love with the trip and getting on board and calling ahead to help me with the locks, and it was truly appreciated.
Now, if I'm correct, you didn't go around the tip of Florida. You went clear across the state, right?
No, that's it was kind of a little controversial thing because some boats went around the tip of Florida. I went down the middle of Florida, and but the Great Loop's kind of like a cannonball run. There's options. You can go down the Mississippi River, or you can cut through the Tin Tom Channel. You can take the Oneida Cut out of the Erie and go Lake Ontario, or you can run Erie Canal the whole way. But what it comes down to is when I was talking to Steve Herndon, it's what best serves your boat. If
Right.
you've got a really fast 40-foot ocean going boat like Peter Hay just did, he set the new 12-day record for the Unlimited. Man, it was the smartest thing. I mean, he has a house down there, so he had trained, he'd done a practice run through the O and came to the conclusion it was going to be faster for him to go around the tip rather than waiting for locks. So, yeah, it was my decision, helped by Steve, and he showed me some shortcuts, one called the Mayaka Cut, which was kind of like a drainage ditch that cut me off the channel right into the middle of the lake. And that local knowledge is paramount. And so I had that, and I knew I'd deal with locks, but for my boat, it was the right decision.
Right on. So across Florida and then up the eastern seaboard.
Pretty wild to think about, huh? A
It's it
John boat in the Atlantic Ocean.
it blows my mind. A John boat in the Gulf of Mexico is enough to you know
Well, the
arouse my
beauty,
interest.
yeah, well, the beauty we had was the prevailing wind that time of year. As long as there's not a hurricane, you generally got this gentle southeast wind, blowing behind you, just launching you right up the east coast. And I had planned on that. I had routes for it, and that's what I was expecting. I knew I might hit some afternoon thunderstorms. I'd have to route around, but that's stuff I expected. So I came out into the Atlantic, coming off the end of the O, and first thing I hit's a thunderstorm. So I'm fighting that, trying to make it up to Cape Canaveral, and the wind was kind of out of the northwest, which is not good for that area. So I'm over there hugging the bank, trying to not deal with that western part of that northwest wind. And man, call look. I mean, I wasn't lucky I wasn't going that fast, but I hit some riprap that people had put out trying to hold the beach from eroding.
Mm-hmm.
And my motor jumped up. The top came loose. I have a extra secure rope thing for my top, but so it didn't fall all the way off, but
That's
it
good.
broke. It broke my tiller. I guess you'd call it attachment onto my boat, and but I had to make decisions fast because I was in a storm. I was being pushed up against the bank, and
Those pop up Florida storms are notorious too.
yeah, but any sailor knows you don't want to be pushed up against a bank. It just takes away your options. But I headed out. I cleared the bank and I got out where I could actually put some fight into the sea, and we made our way. When I say we, I'm talking about me and all my followers and helpers and stuff. So
Right.
forgive me for saying we, but
No, I know
we
what you
made
mean.
it. We made it up to Cape Canaveral. It was late, and Quentin had gotten the word out that and Quentin's one of my team that helps coordinate things, and he had gotten the word out that I need some help on. Some damage that was done. My stern light got knocked out, and there were some other issues that we had to deal with. And a helper shows up right there at Cape Canaveral at 10 o'clock at night, and we sat there at the boat ramp and worked on the boat till it was getting close to midnight. And I was tired. I hadn't got much sleep the night before, and so as we wrapped it up and he took off and we said our goodbyes, I, camped there. I just said there was big signs, no camping on the dock, and I said, "Well, man, this is a life and death emergency situation. I'm sure they'll understand." So I set up. I have two layers or two types of tents. I set up my lighter weight tent, and I was fast asleep. And this story's been told elsewhere. I'll just make it quick. But the guard comes up, said, "You can't camp here." Then he realized who I was, and he says, "Oh, we'll take care of you." And then the 4 o'clock shift comes on, and they were excited that I was there, and they understood why I needed to stay there and not head out of there till I got some rest. And then the fisherman showed up, and then the little kid walks over and says, "That boat looks as crusty as my asshole." And
Wow.
I busted up laughing. He was telling his friend that, and oh man, it was so funny. That These are the stories that make great adventures. And you know, do you want to run into the rocks? Heck no. But any adventure knows if you're going to go out for something this big, these are the kind of things that happen. These are the kind of things that you embrace, and you don't let them fluster you. You just say, "Oh yeah, that's part of the adventure.
That's
I
right.
knew it was going to happen, and let's put that behind us, and let's move forward."
Moving on. That's right. All right.
Okay,
So I understand you ran aground. I believe it was in North Carolina.
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay. Okay. So
So
during the entirety of your trip, I was actually down in Kerrville.
okay,
Me and my crew were helping out down there with the flood recovery.
recoveries.
So I didn't get a chance to contact you and let you know I was paying attention, but I paid attention to every bit of your trip.
Well, thank you for. I know you own a rescue, or excuse me, an underwater salvage business, and I know they really appreciated you down there in Kerrville trying to help out.
It,
Thanks, man.
it was a wonderful community, and we were honored to be involved.
Okay, well, so I just want to talk a little bit about that story with going in the weeds.
Yeah, let's hear about that. I
so,
understand you fell
so,
asleep.
oh yeah, man. It's things happen in a big adventure. So, uh, I had just been, trucking along. I'd made the decision to run the ditch. So from Jacksonville, I was flying up the ditch, man. Intercoastal waterway, for those who don't know
Right.
the nautical term of the ditch. But so I was running up the intercoastal waterway. I was running early to late, and really making great time. And I pulled into a town, and people were so nice and giving, and someone paid for my gas, and someone provided me a big sandwich, and it was just awesome. So I'm cruising along. Now I'm out in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina, running through big swamps and
What's
turns. And
what's the speed
go ahead,
limit in the Intracoastal Waterway?
million miles an hour. Who knows? There's no speed limits out there, dude.
Oh, I
So
didn't know
I'm out
that.
there.
Okay.
No, I'm out there rocking it in the intercoastal waterway, and I'm daydreaming about the universe, man. I'm out here living the life, and all of a sudden I'm in the front of my boat. I'm waking up. I'm kind of looking around. I'm in the middle of the woods, and it's like, where's the water? And I look back there behind the boat, and about maybe 45, 50 feet behind the boat was water. I mean, my boat was invisible from the water. I had gone that
Wow.
far. I realized I had fallen asleep, and I kind of checked my body. I wasn't hurt, and looked around the boat and saw my Simrad chart plotter was shattered. I don't know if my searchlight hit it or my elbow hit it, but the screen was just shattered. But that was the only thing I saw wrong. I hopped out of the boat and kind of sunk into reeds a couple of feet below, deep below the boat, and walked around the boat, looked up under the front, and man, it was still in one piece. I saw there was some cracks on either side of the front deck where, man, when it smacked, that front deck must have bent up some, and flexed the whole front end and
Oh,
dropped
wow.
back in place. I mean, I had 600 pounds of fuel. I just fueled up,
Yeah.
and I had all of my gear and everything in the boat. So, yeah, it was like a boat as loaded as you can imagine. A 60 horsepower was struggling to get it on plane. And that's what hit a 2 foot tall mud bank, jumped 45 feet, and landed out in the woods. So,
Wow.
man, I was impressed that well built held together like it did. And no, it was time. had no cell reception, but I did have an inReach, and I got on the inReach. If anyone doesn't know, an inReach is a satellite texting device, so it'll get word out from anywhere. And I had set up a group prior to the trip, so I could just send a single message, and it would go to my wife and Quentin and Jack. Sent the message out. Hey, I've run aground, fell asleep. I'm uninjured, but we need to try to get some boats out here to help me. I need a big boat with at least 100-foot rope. So Quentin immediately got on that. So I started walking around the boat, looking around. I heard my phone ting, and I found that there were some locations that I could get some phone reception. So I called my wife. I was dreading this phone call. Called my wife and said, honey, I fell asleep. I ran aground. And she goes, what are you going to do? I said, man, I'm putting this behind me. I'm headed down the river. She says, no. How are we going to make sure this never happens again? And I thought about it for a minute. That big old sandwich sure was good for lunch. I said, here's the deal, wife. I will not eat any meals anymore during the day. I'm going to live off body fat and Red Bulls. And she says, if that's what you think you need to do and that'll keep you awake, let's make that change. Stand by it. And good luck, honey. Get back on the water. That's the kind of wife I have. And the team said, do you want to let this out? Do you want to let it out that you fell asleep? Hell yes, I want to let it out. It's part of the
Part of the
journey. I
adventure.
mean,
That's right.
yeah, that's why I put it on 2-minute tracking interval. I wanted everyone to be involved with this and have fun with it. So, no, I wasn't hide anything. I made a mistake. I immediately got on the internet and I apologized to everyone. It was a bad thing to do. I could have, if it had been in a town, I don't think it would have happened in a town because had stimulus and not gotten sleepy. But I could have hurt me and I could have hurt someone. So
And all because
I
you had a sandwich.
no, all because I hadn't gotten any sleep. No, it
Oh,
was
okay.
my fault. It was no one's fault about feeding me good food. It was my fault for pushing it too hard. And, one of the biggest things, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or food when you shouldn't eat it, we all have our vices and there's consequences associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing you got to do is just be a man, be a strong woman and just say, look, I screwed up and I'm going to change my ways. And that's what I did. Put that behind me. Chapter done.
Own
Close
up to
that
it. Move
book.
on.
Move on, man. So that's what we did. We lined up a new chart plotter next afternoon. That afternoon I continued on through the night, pretty late because I wanted to be right near this. There's a Bass Pro Shop that had Quentin had all checked it all out and found a place that was right next to the river that had a chart plotter like I wanted, and it was only going to be like a 1/4 mile hike, and it looked like a place that I could park my boat and not have to worry about it too much. So I was a little bit scared about getting to this dock and having to leave my boat and run over to a Bass Pro Shop. You wouldn't believe this, Ryan. When I got there, here's the police, a huge crowd,
Robert,
they, yeah,
real quick. I gotta cut you short for just a second. We got about 12 seconds still commercial break, but I want to hear about the crowd and all of it. I
okay,
want to hear about all of it at Bass Pro.
okay.
Can't
Go
wait.
sell something. Go sell something.
All right, we'll be back in a few. In a few. NTX Radio proudly serves all of North Texas and can be heard all over the world on the TuneIn Radio Network and on the NTX Radio app available on Android and Apple CarPlay, or just ask Alexa to play NTX Radio. Check out our lineup and more at ntxradio.com. We thank our valued sponsors in helping us amplify the voices of North Texas communities and businesses. So protect your family with a will or trust. Connect with Todd Hurd and Associates, attorneys at law, for all your civil law needs at texasattorneylaw.com. Processing credit cards? Join the Swipe Nation today and save on processing fees at swipenationusa.com. Locally owned and operated, and will beat any rates. Got sleeves? Dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com for women's accessories and more made in the USA. And it's time to take your business to the next level. Hosting a radio show and podcast is a powerful way to connect with a wider audience, bring brand awareness, and drive sales. Let's discuss your business goals and how a custom show can help you achieve them. Email Tiffany at t.hurd@ntxradio.com to get amplified. Welcome back, Robert.
Hey, I'm ready to get back started.
Me too, man. Okay, so you
Okay.
quarter-mile hike up to the Bass Pro Shop to get you a new chart plotter, and what happened?
No, none of that happened, man. The police were there, crowds were there. Guy says, "Hey, I own a local boat shop." Another guy says, "Well, I can help too." I said, "Well," and this guy says, "Man, I got my car steady right here waiting for you. Well, I'm gonna run you over to the Bass Pro Shop." And the police said, "Man, I got your boat protected. Don't worry about it."
What a
And
deal.
they were all waiting, and man, this was it's just, made me want to cry. I think I did cry in a video I did there.
Wow.
And we hop in the car and we go in, and as we're going in there, this guy's going, "Get out of the way! There's a world record holder coming in." It was nuts at the Bass Pro Shop. They didn't know what to do.
And this is where?
This is in Myrtle Beach, the famous Myrtle Beach video that's now had over 1 million views. So they were videoing all this, which I didn't know.
I can't wait to go watch the video.
Yeah, we got into the Bass Pro Shop, and the one I wanted was like $900 and stuff. And the guy at the counter goes, "Well, we got the one bigger model on sale for a manager special for $599." I was like, "Oh my God, let's get that one." This is the one I really wanted. It was the bigger 9-inch model. I was running a 7-inch Simrad Go 7. So I ended up with a bigger model, Simrad Go 9. Oh, and while I was gone, the guy that owns the boat shop and the other guy, they were taking apart the old chart plotter and getting it ready to put the new chart plotter on, and it was all happening to get me out of there fast.
That's awesome. I love the way the community came together for you.
It was nuts. So we get back, and so while they're working on it, I'm doing selfies with or doing pictures with people and stuff. I was like, "What's going on here? People want pictures." It's but it was a lot of fun. Those guys got the new unit installed, and we kind of did a little cursory deal to make sure it was working, and we thought we had it all ready to go, and I took off, and then I realized, man, I think there weren't some settings done right or something we hadn't completed doing. And if you've ever set up a new chart plotter, there's lots of things to set up.
I sure have.
So I'm running down the through that area, and there's marinas all over the place. I see a big crowd on a marina dock, and I just pulled over there and I said, "Hey, y'all got a Simrad specialist here?" And he goes, "We sure do. Let me get him out here." And they run the Simrad specialist out there, and he's working on it. And he goes, "Oh man, this is past me." So he calls another Simrad specialist, and they're down there manipulating with it, getting my Simrad all ready to go. And the owner of the marina is out giving me hats and shirts and a really special green towel I used a lot during that trip. And
a green towel?
A green towel. It's just how many times you need to wipe your glasses or get the spray off the stuff you're going to eat. But I miss that green towel. I'm going to find that green towel. But I was receiving lots of special gifts that every one of them has a story, and I've done a couple of posts where I shared it. But I'll try to get back to every one of you guys, because every gift that you gave me, every legislator, congressman, mayor, and there was everyone reaching out and supporting the trip. The Corps of Engineers, all of them. I got lots of proclamations. I got a really cool drawing in my boat done by a principal that had been an art teacher, and but. I needed to get back out offshore. This wiggling through towns and swamps was fun to wave at people, but if I was going to make headway, I needed to get north of Chesapeake Bay, and I needed not have to go through all that coastline in those big cities and those speed zones. I needed to get offshore. So I can't remember this big town I got into, and I made a turn up, I think it's called Adams Cut, and got in Pamlico Sound. Man, it's a big piece of water, but it's not the ocean, and it allowed me to get north. I made it, I camped out on the west side of Pamlico Sound, got up real early in the morning, made it the rest of the way up Pamlico Sound, and there's a cut back into the ocean called the Oregon Inlet, and I made it there, got lost. A local guy was driving by, and he goes, I said, "Hey man, I need to find the Oregon Inlet." He goes, "Well, I would run you over there, but I don't think you'd keep up with me." I said, "Dude, I can outrun that boat. Get going." So he took off like 35 miles an hour, and I'm running in there right behind him. I'm kind of low on fuel at this point. I needed fuel at that Oregon Cut, and he took the marina and got to the marina. The Coast Guard was there. The local sheriff's department and a bunch of other people. So they all saw me coming, and so we had a great visit while they fueled me up, and it was back out in the ocean. So my plan was to leave that Oregon Inlet and make it straight to New York, that Sandy Hook there where you turn into New York.
Mm-hmm.
I got tired about maybe, I don't know, 10:30. And I was thinking back on the promises I made my wife of trying to get 7 hours sleep, and I said, I need to turn into Ocean City. It was not to New York, but I was Ocean City, Maryland. I'd gone a long way, so I turned in and I was headed in, and then I was using my handheld right up next to my side. I hear Robert Youens. Robert Youens. This is NOAA. We are tracking you. I'm going, oh, what the heck's going on? It sounded like the voice of God on my shoulder. And I got on the radio and said, "This is Robert Youens." He says, "Yes, we're tracking you. You have entered a hazardous zone. You need to take a 360 heading and depart as quickly as you can." Well, they were lobbing rockets from like Virginia out into the ocean, and I had evidently entered this hazard zone. And you're in the nav screen, you don't see stuff like that. I switched over to the chart plotter screen, and yeah, there was a big old black mark in the ocean there that you weren't supposed to enter. And so I got through it, and I hear over there, "Robert Youens, you are free to navigate." So they've released me. I still didn't know what it was all about, but I was about 30 miles from Ocean City. I got to Ocean City, and I only made a last minute decision to cut off from my route to New York. And I'm coming up to Ocean City, and the seawall is just lined with people. "Go, Robert! Go, Robert!" There's boats lining up the harbor in the entry to Ocean City. I'm going, well, what alternate universe am I in that people are coming out for a John boat? So I pull in, and they said, "Well, man, come over. We've got a place for you to stay." And it was supposed to pour rain that night. So I said, if I can find some place to stay. And this guy says, "I have a 150 or 105-foot yacht. You can stay on my yacht tonight." I said, "I'm staying with you, buddy." So I followed him. I followed him in, and they gave me a slip to park my boat that night, and they did their best to get me some crab cakes, but all the places were closed for crab cakes. But the guy on the yacht had lots of food, and they made me sandwiches, and maybe 10 or 12 people from the yacht club came in, and we all visited. I think there's some pictures out there on the internet. Trying to remember the name of the boat, but he gave me a really nice shirt for the boat, and I think it was Cookie Monster was the name of the boat. But no, it was a really great evening. It saved me having to set up my tent
No
and
kidding.
camp in the rain. Picked up a shower, and I got up at 5 o'clock and was trying to get out of this yacht. It was so fancy, I couldn't find my way out. I went upstairs, downstairs. I was trying to find a window to escape from, and it had like electric doors and everything. I couldn't find the button to open the door to get out. So I finally had to open up wake up the captain and said, "Hey man, this boat's so fancy, I can't get out." And he said, "Hold on a minute." And I also couldn't flush the commode. So no, he came out and says, "I'll take care of everything." And he walked me to the back door and wished me well and back in the boat and headed to New York.
105-foot yacht. That's huge.
It was a fishing yacht, dude. The captain said it's a little bit big for fishing, but this is what the owner wanted.
Wow.
Uh, the next phase was into the first of my three big iconic things I wanted to see. And Brian, you tell me, because this we're only about maybe 1,600 miles into 4,800. So if we need to speed up, but
We got about 15 minutes to go.
okay, thanks. I'll speed it up. So, but I did. I made it to the first iconic moment. I was
Hey,
turning
what?
the.
Don't cut any corners here. We can pick it back up next week. Everybody wants to hear everything.
Okay, well, I turned out of the ocean and I came around the famous Sandy Hook,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a weekend and there were lots of people on the beach. It was so cool, and but it's a pretty long haul into the New York Harbor, and I made it into the New York Harbor, and man, there's the Staten Island ferries and the ferries going out to the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island and all that stuff. How iconic was here I'm pulling into the New York Harbor in a freaking John boat that I'd just come thousands of miles in. It was so amazing. And so I pulled up to the Statue of Liberty and took that picture, the little selfie with me and the statue in the background. It's gotten a lot of buzz on the internet, and some the pictures of where the Twin Towers used to be and now where the Freedom Tower is, and all this was so meaningful to me. I'd done a lot of research, and my wife and daughter and I had gone to the top of the Twin Towers not too long before they were taken down by our enemies, and it was really meaningful. I went over to Manhattan Island and I just kind of ran along the shoreline there. And believe it or not, here in New York City, who would have guessed it? There's John Boat fans. They were lining the sidewalks of Manhattan Island, waving and yelling and stuff. This was craziness, man. So
You
I
touched a lot of lives with your adventure, Robert. You
it,
really,
it
really did.
a lot of joy going on. I think a lot of people just kind of didn't want to. They wanted to turn away from all the crazy news of international
Mm-hmm.
issues and domestic issues, and I think they were just escaping to something on the water, something that took them back to nature,
Mm-hmm.
and something that was pure, and something that didn't have boundaries. It made me reflect on the people up in the Arctic. When I pulled into this little town in the Arctic in my John boat, and there's no gas station at the shoreline because they don't have piers. The ice takes everything away.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked to this dock and I said, "Dude, where do you use the bathroom?" And the guy says, "Oh, you just walk up to any house and you knock on the door and say, 'I need to use your bathroom.' And if there's no one there, you just go in and use the bathroom." I said, "How can this be?" He said, "In the Arctic, we take care of each other."
I remember you telling me
What?
about that last time.
Yeah. What if your child's out playing and a polar bear walks up? Well, they can go into any home. I can remember as a kid, Lake Jackson used to be that way. Cap Brown rode around on his horse, and when we were a community, no one talked about what they did at the polls. They went and voted, and we never knew each other's political party, and we didn't worry about what religion someone was, and it was the Arctic taught me a lot of lessons, and I saw that to kind of tie it back, I saw that happening along the way, is that it didn't matter black, white, green. Everyone was just having fun with my adventure, and then an old geezer in a John boat. Who doesn't like a geezer in a John boat?
Yeah.
So
They're just happy to be involved with the story,
they
really.
were just happy, and wanted to be part of it, give me something. I ran into some bow hunters. Me and they had their all lights on and stuff, and they were out there with their bow and arrows. And I said, "Hey, dudes, man, I need to find a place to sleep tonight on the Hudson River." And he said, we'll get in your boat, we'll show you. And he hopped in the boat, and he got on my chart plotter and set me a waypoint to a really good camping spot. And I wished them, thanked them, and took off on my way and found that camp spot, slept like a baby that night. It was a wonderful night's sleep. Got up the next morning, and I'm taking off, and there's a towboat there pushing some barges. And he says, "Hey, Robert." And I said, who is this? Who's this? He says, "I'm in that boat up in front of you." I said, "You talking about you're driving that towboat?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm driving the towboat." He says, "You know that guy that called you down there off the coast of Ocean City? That's a buddy of mine. He was the guy that worked for NOAA, and he was the one that warned you about." And he kind of explained what was going on with. They were actually launching rockets. He kind of explained it all, but how weird was that? Here's a towboat operator in the Hudson telling me about what was going on in Ocean City, and he said, "Pull on over. We'll make you a breakfast sandwich." And I said, "Dude, I don't have time. I don't eat breakfast." Boom, and I'm up there because I knew Jack. He's with the American Great Loop Cruisers Association. He became my buddy, advocate, everything. He's waiting for me, man. He's wanting me up there at Franklin Lock, or Federal Lock, I think it's called. At the It's like lock number 1. It's not actually in the Erie Canal. It's on the Hudson River, and so I made it there. I slept out that night. I got up in the morning, and I turned into the Erie Canal. Huge crowd, and Jack had set it all up, man. I pulled into locks, and there'd be 300-400 people circling the locks, cheering and stuff, and it was that way all the way through the Erie Canal. And man, just amazing. I was through the Erie Canal. It's 300 and I think 60 miles or so, and most people take 2 weeks to get through there. I was through there in 2 nights,
No kidding.
and it just because it went so smoothly. And yeah, and before I knew it, I was on Lake Erie. I was now in the back in the big water, but this time, instead of being salty, it was fresh. It's hard to believe oceans, things the size of oceans, that were fresh water. And so, a local gave me the lead and showed me the way to exit out to Erie. I entered the Niagara River out of the Erie Canal. Whoa, I see why Niagara Falls is so big. That Niagara River, it's just cutting it, man. It must have been flowing 10 miles an hour. I'm not exaggerating. And it's all that water running down to Niagara Falls. And I made that turn out into the Niagara River, and then entered the Great Lakes. And still, I'm just, it's still like ethereal. It's like I'm kind of having a hard time believing that it was just a couple of days ago I'd started at Pensacola. And so Jack says, "Hey, Robert, the north side," I'd always been planning the south side. He said, "The north side along Canada is going to be the route." So, man, I took off, and I made it about halfway down the length of Lake Erie. And the wind was it was a tailwind, a little bit out of the east. And so there's a thing called Long Point. When I say long, I'm talking like 100-mile long. And I pulled around that point, and I was in the lee. So, dropped anchor, and he left me a message that, "Hey, Robert, there's a chance that the wind could switch to the southwest and freshen during the night. Be prepared." So I was tired, so I dropped the hook, and I was fast asleep pretty quick. And then I wake up to pow, 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 as my bow beating 3-foot waves. And first thing I do is I look up and make sure my position hadn't changed, my anchor was holding, that I was safe, and that one of the axioms in boating: don't think twice, take action. So I didn't know if those waves were going to be 6 feet in another 5 minutes. So I packed all my gear, pulled up the anchor, and started making my way into the headwind and working my way around to the other side.
So
And I
the
could
wind did shift and change direction.
it was shifted. It got harder and picking up big waves, and I had gone from the east to southwest, and so it took me like 3 hours beating those waves to get around. And I did find a little protective cove on the other side. I pulled in there, dropped anchor, lost 3 hours of sleep. So I said, "Man, I got to catch it back up." So I set an alarm every night, and I slept on the hook there in Canadian waters. It was cold. It was it's hard to imagine sitting here in Texas right now sweating, but it was cold. I had a sleeping bag and stuff, and
How cold was
uh,
it, do you think?
oh, I mean, it was probably 50, but the wind was blowing real
Oh
hard, and
yeah,
my body was adjusted for heat.
temperature on the
And
water is always colder.
all the water there is super cold. So yeah, so I made it through. I slept till 8. I know everyone was worried about me, and a lot of the people got up in the morning and saw that I made a move during the middle of the night and were concerned what was going on. And uh, I got a message out to my crew that, hey, what had gone on. I think they posted it to try and, because we were now feeling responsibility for a nation or a world or however many of the 49 million people that had jumped on my Facebook page to keep them aware of what was going on. So and remember, I'm still in a boat that ran into a mud bank in South Carolina. I knew I had problems, and I could see those cracks on either side where the front had plowed into that mud. I could see those cracks lengthening, and they were bothering me a lot. But I had a challenge to complete, so kept going, and I was going through Canadian waters. It's cool as long as you don't touch the bank. You can go, up right up to it, but and I think in an emergency they wouldn't care. But luckily, I didn't have any emergencies there, and I was headed toward the Detroit River, but man, boats started coming out of Canada, just peeling out of Canada, following me, and so I had a bunch of Canadian boats following me over to the Detroit River and passing me Red Bulls and underwear. Red Bulls and underwear, isn't that weird? I'd made a comment earlier about if there was one thing that I wished I'd remembered. I said more dry underwear. So, boy, the underwear was coming. So I made it. Yeah, I made it to the Detroit River, and that's where 50 boats were lined up, just waiting for me. And we all tooled together down the Detroit River. And I stopped and got interviewed. They did a front page story in the Detroit News about my
Wow.
trip. Imagine that. And so we head up into the next lake. I think it's St. Clair, and then my geography is not too good, but it was becoming better. And we made it through St. Clair, and I think I ended up just south of making it into Lake Huron, and I just didn't have any more steam. I had to pull over and drop the hook, and got up the next morning. Jack said, "It looks you got a good run," but he said, "I want you off the water by 11:30." And I said, "What's the big deal?" He says, "There's going to be a storm coming across the Michigan Peninsula, and it's going to trap you offshore if you don't get in." He said, "I want you on the bank at 11:30." Generally, Jack gave me, we talked about things and we made decisions together. No, he was ironclad about that one. I need you off the water at 11:30. And man, I was going along about 11:15. I could just feel the shift in the wind, and I could see the clouds over the mainland. And I said, "Oh crap, I
He
got to
nailed
get
it, didn't
in."
he?
So he nailed it. He watches the weather closely for me, and And when I remember to look at it and talk to him about it, and so I made it in this little town called Gristmill, the coolest little town, the home of the largest ice cream cone, and man, I had a great meal. Ate some walleye, and they had a cabin 30 feet from my boat, and
Wow.
we secured my boat to be able to handle the incoming storms, and got to. It was funny as I was running around town. A local guy was driving me around. I was watching online. Robert must be injured. They're taking him to a hospital, and it was hilarious. And I'd come in every now and calm everyone down. Oh, I'm okay. I'm just going to get some more toilet paper.
That's funny.
But yeah, and then the controversy is what brand of toilet paper did I use?
Well, Robert,
It
we've
was
got about a minute left in the show. I want to take a moment while I have you interrupted just to
okay.
say, number one, thank you for what you've done. You have opened the door to a lot of different people who thought that maybe something like that wasn't possible, and you proved them wrong. And you've ignited a spark of adventure in the hearts of people who might not ever get to do something like that. It's a big deal, man. You've really done something great with this trip. Unfortunately, we're out of time to finish the story, but I want to pick you up back again next week and finish it
Okay,
out.
I would love that, Ryan. You know, I love your show, and I
I love
like the
having you on
people
the
that
show
listen
every
to it.
time, man. It's always a good time when you're on the show.
Okay, well, let's pick it up in a week.
All right, we'll do that, man. It's been a wonderful episode of Texas Wild Adventures from the Water to the Campfire. Y'all tune in next week and we'll finish this episode out and we'll come to our conclusion. Thank you and have a great night.